Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the episode 29 of the Ken Matias Sports Podcast. I have 98.5, the Sports Hub, Mark Dondero. How are you, sir?
Ken, what's up, man? Thanks for having
Hey.
me.
No, I appreciate you doing this. Like I told you, like right before we got on, if you just want to talk about your career, what made you get into the industry and how much of a struggle it is to get into the industry, because I've heard a lot of stories and people tell me, "Do you really want to do this?" I'm like, maybe someday, but go for it.
Well, I mean, listen, yeah, it was always something I thought I'd be A, good at, B, passionate about. And at the time, I was like a 20-year-old kid. I'm thinking like, this is, why not go for it? Give it a shot. Like I wasn't married, I didn't have kids. I was just trying to like think big at the moment. But, um, yeah, it's like you said, it's definitely tough. I think the biggest thing that I wasn't prepared for that people didn't really, and I should have just known, but people didn't spell it out for me the way I guess I had hoped, was the reality that this business is just simply not a meritocracy. So you just because I grew up playing sports, I played baseball through
Same.
college. If you were better, a lot of times in sports, even at the non-professional level or whatever, if you're better than player X or Y, you play or you
Hmm.
win. The better player usually prevails. That's not the way this business works, and that was a hard reality to face when I had to face it. And the other thing is it's changed a lot since I started. When I started, my first job was in Dalton, Georgia. I was there for a year, almost 2 years, and then in Columbus, Mississippi, working as a sports anchor at TV stations, trying to build
Yep.
my way back up. You would never do that now. Like you would never ever do that now, and you would you'd start writing on a website and you try to catch on to somewhere else that was a little bit bigger. Then you'd get a podcast, then you do
Yep.
this, and like you just wouldn't do it that way anymore. Now I love the experience of living in the South and getting
Hmm.
out of New England for 4 years and doing, being able to say I've lived, just having the experience of being in a different part of the country. I covered a lot of college football, Alabama, Nick Saban, like great experiences.
Hmm.
Uh, but the whole thing changed, and when it did, I was a guy that had a lot of like local news slash TV experience, and even a place like ESPN and Sports Center,
Hmm.
which was like like anybody that was doing my job, that was the goal. You wanted to be on Sports Center one
Yeah.
day, which is still like I guess some faraway dream of mine. Might be dead now, but
No, I hear
like
you. I'm
that
on
was the
that
goal.
too.
That was the pinnacle of sports like anchors, and even that changed so much. So to watch what the how the business has evolved and podcasts and Barstool, and which I'm a fan of. I just like all the athletes now who have their own
Hmm.
podcasts and create their own content. It really makes it hard, and it's changed. But I don't know what I would have done in terms of having regrets had I not gave it a shot. Like
Yeah.
you can always go into another line of work. You can always find other ways to make money. You can't always, I guess, pursue your dream. Like, sometimes it's just life, things happen, and it's just harder depending on where you are in life. So I'll never say I regret, that I tried at least.
No, absolutely. I mean, obviously, you're more experienced than I ever have been. I mean, being, from the South, working at news stations. I think I was looking on your LinkedIn. You worked at Channel 12. I mean, talk about that experience because that seems
Yeah, I mean,
working
that
in
was
East
the highlight.
Providence. I
Like,
mean,
it was when I got that. I mean, that was the highlight of my career in a vacuum.
oh, wow.
Well, just to be because like the prospect of getting back to New England was so was it was a dream. Like
Hmm.
it was legitimately a dream. Now I made dog crap money, which was disappointing. Like they paid me legitimately what I made in Mississippi,
Wow.
and that was disappointing. Jumping 100 markets, so that
Hmm.
made it hard eventually. But in the moment, going from Georgia to Mississippi, having some close calls with another station in Providence twice, only to get like rejected essentially, and then to get the WPRI, which was a pretty good station. Was a dry. I remember driving into work those first few months, and it was just like I would float. Like you just buzz through the city, you'd see
Yeah.
the skyline. It was like a
Yep.
party every day, every
Yep.
night. I couldn't believe I was back. I was covering the teams. I was going to be able to make my mark the way I had hoped. Um, but then obviously, like I said, you were making $30,000. It just wasn't sustainable. So I was trying as hard as I could to get to ascend from there. And maybe that's where things went wrong. Maybe that's where I made mistakes. I don't know. I wouldn't say that, but and the business changed. I mean, I got people that I know that are still there that like for crying out loud, they should be in Boston by now doing
Yeah.
stuff. They have great talents, they're great workers, they're great people, and they're stuck in Providence. And these Boston stations hire people that haven't put in half the legwork these people have, and it just pisses me off.
Yeah.
But that's the business, you know. It's just changed a lot. They've tried to make more. Um, again, it's just not all about experience and ability now. It's about other stuff, and it's not subjective, and that makes it tough. But the Providence thing was great, and covering the Patriots especially was a highlight of my
Hmm.
professional life. And I still miss it to this day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can refer to that. I mean, I interned at Channel 5 2 years ago, was unpaid. Come to find out now they're paying interns. It's kind of a slap in the face, and I'm not dogging anybody. I mean, it was a great experience. I wish I could do it all over again. I mean, obviously not the unpaid part, but my time at Channel 5, like the 3, 4 months I interned was like, wow, like I'm working in the sports department. I'm working with Bob Halloran, one of the legends to me in the industry in the Boston sports market, because he's been to Providence, Boston, yada yada yada. And I'm like, wow. I mean, Boston's what, like a top 10 or a top 50 market, and then Providence is what,
Oh yeah,
outside
it's
of it?
definitely top 10.
Yeah. And Providence is what, like outside the top 50 or in the top 50, whatever it
It
is.
was like around 50 or 52. I don't remember.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously having that Google Gaga there, being basically an intern and just learning. And I didn't experience going because there was still kind of COVID restrictions. I didn't experience go to like Fenway Park and do this and shoot Vosots and all that stuff, but it was still an experience. So, I mean, you having the ability to basically jump from the South and come back home and go to Providence. Yeah, I know you said you didn't make the best money, but it was definitely an experience going to Gillette, cover the Pats, cover practices, stuff like that. And I mean, what made you like change your mind and get out of like basically the news or TV business to go into like radio? Because that's another passion of mine too.
So while I was in Providence, so I left WPRI in the spring of 2018.
Okay.
In February of 2017, right, it was right the weekend the Patriots played the Falcons in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Um, I started doing a show for the WEI affiliate in Providence, a radio show,
Hmm.
because I'm like, it's a good way to make extra money,
Yep.
diversify my portfolio in terms of my career a little bit. Um, and it was just gave me another like it was something else. Like I was just more. I had never done radio. It was a good way to become more versatile. And before that, I had gotten based on my questions and stuff with Bill Belichick. I had gotten some opportunities to go on in Boston WEI when Kirk and Callahan were doing their
Oh, I
show in the
remember
height of their.
them. Yep.
And I they kind of dogged me for my performance. I had never been on radio in my life. I had like
Hmm.
our college for like a college thing, but like actual radio, I had never been on radio.
Hmm.
So okay, you gotta like take advantage of whatever. But I had never done any type of audio format. So I was like, this is a great experience to get more comfortable doing radio. You make a little money on the side, like, and it was great. And then, I continued to do that. I mean, I did the show there with Ben Kitchen for a long time. And I miss it. That guy is
Hmm.
awesome. He's one of the most talented people I've worked with. So underrated. It's ridiculous. He hasn't gotten a chance in Boston. But we did
Yeah.
that show from. I started with another guy. He left soon after the show began. Kitch came on in June or July of 2017, and we did the show up until last January when I left for 98.5. We were doing it even as recently as a year ago. So that was like what, 7-ish years, 2017 to 2024.
Yeah.
So long time doing the show with him. And it went really well. I thought we had a great show. I slowly, then when I got into 2018, my contract expired at WPRI. Felger will tell everyone that I got fired. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
I decided not to go back. I didn't get fired, but they wouldn't renew my contract. I decided, based on a few things that were going on, it was time for a change. Part of it was lifestyle. I was married then.
Hmm.
By that point, I was, in my early 30s. We had two kids. I was married. Like I covered high school football for about 10 years. I was done working on Friday nights
Yeah, no, I
for
gotcha.
that money, especially. If the
Hmm.
money had been, if it was bigger money, you never know. But like for that money, Friday night, Saturday night anchoring, the kids were getting older. I didn't want to start missing things they were doing.
Hmm.
And I was looking at the way the business was going, and I'm like, what's the ceiling for a sports anchor now?
Hmm.
It's like ESPN or bust, and they were even going down the drain. And the
Yeah.
ESPN Sports Center product wasn't as good. So I'm like, this is the time. My contract was up. I did not agree with the philosophy of the management in some ways. Like I thought they were very conservative, and I was trying to do some other things that they didn't really care for. And like I said, the money, just a bunch of different factors on top of, like I said, the business looking different. I was like, I think it's time to get a more normal job, um, and keep the radio. And if I could get back in under more my terms, I would. But it just hasn't worked out that way, which is fine. But I still hope that it will one day. And now it's probably going to be on in a radio type of job. Hopefully, if it works out. But I still have the TV skills. I bought the Avid or whatever it is, Final Cut on my computer. I edit like a
Hmm.
madman even to this day. I
That's
love
good.
producing the content. I
Yeah.
love creating, inciting emotion in people and using my creativity and writing. Um, and even since I've left, I've written some articles. Um, I'll write for whatever, like it was weei.com when I posted my last
Hmm.
article. If I reach out to the Celtics about something with an idea I had, if that works out, that'll go on 98.5. Like, so if it like I don't get paid for that, but if I come up with a good idea, like the last article I wrote was I interviewed some people who played baseball in high school, and one of their coaches on the high school baseball team was Larry Bird. He had just
Wow.
come out of college. He had just been drafted by the Celtics. But
Wow.
to finish his like grad school, he was going to be like a teacher. He had to do some sort of like work study program where he ended up coaching high school baseball.
Wow.
And I got in touch. This was like, I don't know, a year and a half ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. I don't even remember. But I got in touch with like a few of his former players, and they just told stories about Larry Bird, the head coach or the assistant baseball coach,
Hmm.
which was like, he's like wild to hear. Like he was like, especially you think of like a guy nowadays, the number 2 overall pick, a guy with that type. Imagine Cooper Flagg, as he
Yeah.
gets ready for the NBA draft, he's coaching
Projected
high
number
school
one.
baseball. Like
That'd be
that's not
crazy.
going to happen. So
No. These kids are built
juxtaposition of
different.
that is wild. So every now and then I come up with an idea and I'll write or I edit different video things on my own laptop and I'll throw it on Twitter, and I really enjoy it, and I have this portfolio of content
Hmm.
that I like. I have to use or post if I want. So it's just because I love it. I love creating the content. I love the game, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I can't get into it. I haven't been able to get back full time, but like I said, I still have a hope for it somewhere deep down.
So you're like more like filling. I think I heard you on Saturday too. You were talking about the Bruins. Oh, geez, the mighty Bruins. That's I don't even know what to say. I mean, I know they fired
Yeah,
their coach today,
I
but I know I heard you like on the radio a little bit. I was out with my wife and I just turned it on. I was like, hey, that's Mark on the radio.
yeah, that I was on Saturday. So yeah, I do like
Saturday, yeah.
weekend shows. In the fall, you're not going to hear me as much because nobody's taking vacation. The
Yeah.
Patriots are on Sundays. They have all the pregame stuff,
Hmm.
so you won't hear me as much. But um, yeah, I'm still on. They still have done a nice job. I'm thankful they keep working me in. And then, once the Patriots are over, I'm hopeful to get more, back in, and I'll crossed over by that point, my like 1 year anniversary of being there.
Yeah.
Um, And then, you've been there a little bit longer. They trust you a little bit more, hopefully. And then you never know where things, if they can use you in different ways, or you never know where it goes. So
Yeah,
I've
for sure.
loved
No,
it. The move has been awesome. So I absolutely love being a part of that station. It's everybody's super nice. They hum. They it's a
mhm.
lot of talented people. People they bring on that even aren't like full time, just super talented, and it's been awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity. It was a job interview with Beasley. It was for Dennis. It was on the engineering or IT side. I went there earlier this
Yeah.
year. I love the station. Like they showed me around Hot 96.9. I seen the Sports Hub. I'm like, I shook hands with Barth. I text him. I got his number, stuff like that. I met Jim Murray. I actually spoke to him on the phone too. Like I was in like awe with the station. It's like beautiful building, beautiful floor. I was a little lost heading in there, but I was
Oh
just
yeah. Hey, heading in there is
I
the
was
first
just
few times I was in there, I was in circles. I didn't know what I was doing,
yeah, I
but
had
you
to have somebody
eventually
help me.
figure it out. There's a better garage to park in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was definitely an experience. I'm like, I got to meet Dennis. He seems like such a great guy. I became closely connected with Bob Sosi. I never met him in person, but he's been on my podcast and I've talked to him too. Like Bob's such a good guy and he told me about Dennis and stuff like that, or they work well together. But no, you
Yeah.
guys, you guys do awesome. I love listening to you guys. I mostly listen to Felger and Maz on my way home from work. I like the midday show. I'm at work, so I'm not really listening during the day, but I'm trying to keep up. But I appreciate what you guys
Yeah.
do. I appreciate what you do too, Mark. I mean, it's definitely good work by all you guys. You guys are just talented enough just to make the airwaves.
Oh, I mean, they don't need my help. I mean, they've been crushing it. But I like to think that
You
I have
contribute,
like
yeah.
some value to add, and we see what happens. Like, unfortunately, they definitely have started getting more into YouTube and stuff like that. And I'm
Yeah,
hoping
I've
that
noticed.
eventually, if I'm given like depending on my role and stuff, I can contribute more in that avenue. But it's tough. I'm only part time. I have another
Hmm.
job. I'm like, I can't put all, and I don't want to put say half-ass something.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to do something, I do it right. But you only have so much time in the day, and you got things going on.
Yeah,
Um,
life. I get it.
yeah, they have a lot of talented people that work there, and like I was going to say, my skills, a lot of which come from TV, which is good and bad. Um, because like so, the radio kind of calls for it's a different situation.
Hmm.
Back when I was on TV, I was like known for being like funny. Like people
Yeah.
saw me as like funny.
Yeah.
On the radio, I wouldn't say I'm all that funny. I mean, I'm not. I'm the one talking. I'm not the one listening. So some people have said they find things I've said funny, but like on TV, I did things that a lot of people thought were funny, like straight
Yeah, you
up,
got to
this is
be
going to make
like
me laugh.
ad lib.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
radio, I'm more intense. I have passion.
Yeah.
I'm not as much of like joking, like But then again, I'm not on a show 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. Maybe
Yeah.
we'd work in more humor if I was on more regularly. I don't know. You'd have to ask somebody that listens to me more regularly, but I love it. I love the challenge of it, and I love talking and talking about the sports and the teams and the trends and what's going on, good, bad, whatever. I love all of that.
Yeah. Seeing, I know you work there part-time, and I'm not trying to get into your personal life. Is the other job related to sports or media, or is it just a
No, I'm
normal?
a teacher. I'm a middle
Oh,
school teacher.
oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
So
awesome.
I just part of the reason I like doing that is because I know, like my wife is in education, so I knew a little bit about the industry.
Perfect.
But more than
Yeah.
anything, I feel like I can add some value to the
Hmm.
kids. Um, it's a predominantly woman dominated field, so as
Hmm.
like a male, I can offer something different and a different kind of personality for some of the students, which I like. But I also just like the hours. It allows me, a lot of time. Like in the summer, I'm totally available to do radio. I did a ton of radio over the summer.
Yeah.
I'm available nights and weekends if I need to be. So like all those things, I like about it. Um, that's a big reason why I got into it.
No, that's awesome. Being a teacher, I mean, that's pretty impressive because that's something I don't think I could ever see myself doing, but I mean, if it came down to it,
I mean,
kudos to
it's
me.
tough. It's important work. It's
For
tough.
sure, it is.
You're
Yeah.
never going to be rich doing that, but
Hmm.
it's good work. You make I'm not worried about the company going under necessarily. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
not that it's my life's passion.
Hmm.
I don't think I'm the best teacher necessarily. I do things a little bit unconventional, but like, um, it does. I think I can, like I said, help the kids in certain ways. And, if it works out where I can get back in, so be it. But for now, this is working. So
Do most of the kids know who you are? Like, hey, my parents listen to you, I listen to you, I want to
I,
get into sports broadcasting, or it's just
so
they're
I
still at a
try
young
not to like
age?
bring it up.
Yeah,
Um, it is true. Like every now, it's funny. Like, so I try not to bring it up,
yeah,
but
I
like
got it.
every now and then, like what'll happen is like one of the teachers who has no clue that I'm on the radio, especially since I went to 98.5, because so
Wow.
many more people listen there than at WEI.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Um,
I'm a culprit of that.
WEI, no one ever heard me. But at 98.5, everyone listens. And like, there's been instances where, like, the teacher, like, let's say it's a woman, she's driving in the car with her husband turns on the radio, and all of a sudden, there I am talking, and she like loses her shit because she's like, wait a minute, what the fuck? That I work with that guy, I think. And like, they don't know what's going on. I've never talked to them about it. And it's just like, yeah, it's funny. So,
That's
and then I have
awesome.
to, like, Batman's been revealed, so not that I'm Batman, but you know what I mean? Like this
Yeah,
alter,
you gotta
like that,
tell them,
because
man.
when I speak on the radio, I have a tempo that I need to
Hmm.
maintain, and I have an intensity because I'm passionate about. I'm not like that necessarily in every interaction in my life, so
Yeah.
they'll hear me and like, "Whoa, this is a guy I work with, huh?" It's like a little bit different than what they're used to. Um, but yeah, it's been, they think that's cool. The school I work at now thinks it was good that I had real world experience and I can
Hmm.
impart some of that on the kids, which helps. Some of the boys, it helps me connect with them a little bit more if they know I've been around some of these athletes and played sports. They think that's cool, so
Yeah,
it
yeah, for
helps with
sure.
that. I just, yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. Like, that's my first love. And when you're not doing it full time, it's hard. And
No,
especially if you're doing
I,
something that you think you might be quite as good at, it
hmm.
like kind of messes with you mentally, but it's you got to do what you got to do, So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what good advice would you give to the world out there that young I consider myself a kid and I just turned 30 over the summer, but what good advice would you give people out there that just want to explore? And I get you got to start from the bottom and board hopping, but it's kind of tough in my situation. I got a wife and kids, so it's like I can't just work for minimum wage anymore. But everybody's like, that's the harsh
Yeah, right.
reality. I'm like, it is what it is. I don't want to do that. I can't.
Well, I mean, the thing I would say is, and I remember telling a kid, I talked to a kid maybe within the last year or two or whatever, some college kid, and he didn't want to hear what I had to say and basically
Yeah.
hung up on me, and I was okay with it.
Wow. Jesus Christ.
I probably wouldn't have wanted to hear it either. But my advice to him was like, I would, get another, not get another job necessarily, but have another plan.
Yeah.
Um,
I've been told that.
because the problem is, what you're gonna want, what you might want at 22 might be totally different than what you end up wanting at 31 or at
Hmm.
28 or at 35 or at 43 or whatever.
It's a good point.
And you just got to be prepared. And again, it's not subjective. It's not like, hey, you passed this test, you passed the Series 7, you're a financial advisor, or you passed the bar and
Yeah.
you're a lawyer and you'll get subject, like, because I'm straight up, and I don't mean to sound like arrogant or
No, you're
anything, but
not.
like, I feel like there are things that I can do better than other people. I
Hmm.
feel like I've had instances where I've definitely been more talented, and have proven it, but for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out. And, that's something I have to live with. But it also, like, I didn't have another plan at the time. Like, I was all in on this and I had to really pivot. And it was hard, at 34, whatever I was doing, going back to grad school, getting a master's, having two kids.
Yeah.
That was not fun. So if you can
It's a
avoid
lot.
that, get your master's when you're young. do have a backup and still pursue the dream of being in the media and create content and do whatever. But have the other thing just in case. I see. My thing was, I'm married to this woman that I'm madly in love with. Like, I didn't want to give up, that for the
Hmm.
job, for the career. Now,
No,
maybe that was
I
my weakness.
100% agree. Yeah, I love my wife to pieces too, and I'm not going to choose my career over my wife. I would never do that. I
Right.
would never
So,
do that.
like, now
As
some
much as I
people I
love
know
the
did.
sports media career, I do. I love it to pieces, but I wouldn't choose it over my family. No way.
Some people do, though, and
That's
have.
that's
And I've seen
wild.
it.
That's crazy.
And it's like they're married to their career, or
Yeah.
they never really, maybe they just didn't want to get married right away, or they didn't prioritize that stuff, and they really wanted to do wherever whatever they needed to make it. I
Hmm.
couldn't do that. Like, when my contract was up in Mississippi, I was leaving.
Yeah,
So
you
if
were
I
done.
ended up getting the job in Providence, thankfully, and it kept me in it. If I didn't get it, I was coming back, and I don't know what I was doing, but I was
Yeah.
leaving because my wife couldn't get a job down there, and we weren't going to just live down there on that salary. So
Yeah.
she had a good job up here. I was coming back, but I got the job in Providence, and that was huge at that time. But yeah, I would say, like, get major in something legit and have another option just in case, or something you can work doing while you're pursuing the sports media stuff. And then if you really feel like you have an avenue to get into it, then go all
Hmm.
in and do what you can. But you just make very little money
That's the
to
thing.
start in a lot of these situations. And unless you're huge on social media, um, I like, it's just so much harder, dude. Like, those athletes, man, they're coming. There's so
It's
many
the
of them that
experience.
have. It
Yeah.
was hard before. It was hard before, when all it was Mike Lynch and Bob Obel
Yeah.
and the sports guys. Now it's hard with all these athletes. I mean, John Gruden just signed with Barstool.
Yeah, that was recently. You're right.
How does the normal dude, like, or girl, get to do that if they're
Hmm.
signing former ex Super Bowl winning, like, you just can't compete. They all, like, Tom Brady had a friggin' podcast while he was still playing.
He did,
You
yeah.
can't compete with that. Tom Brady, Julian Edelman bringing guys on his podcast. He's got 4 cameras, money to invest. He's got
Hmm.
all these friends come on, tell stories. How is a guy going to compete with that never played, doesn't know anyone? Like,
You're
it's
right.
so hard. So I'm not saying it's hopeless. I'm
No,
not.
yeah.
It's not. You can't think like that. You just have to love it and believe in what you can do, and then work your butt off and create content and hope for the best and meet people and don't be a jerk and
Hmm.
see where it goes. And you never know. So that's what I would say. But just know it's not a meritocracy, and you better love it if you're going to do it. You better be in it for the right reasons.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. But I did want to ask you this too, because I've noticed it's a trend. Does the industry take a toll on people? Because you got news anchors and people leaving, and I'm like, why the hell are these people leaving the industry? Like, people from Channel 4 left. I forget his name, Liam Martin, maybe he left, doing
Yeah,
something else. Joe
I don't
Amisino,
know.
it's blowing my mind. I'm like, I'd kill to be in that position. Not kill, but I'd love to be in that position, but these
Well,
people are just leaving after 25, 30 years in the business and they're done. So I don't know if they just
you
get
got
too
to keep in
stressed
mind,
out.
man. Like, the hours are tough.
That's what it is. It's
Um,
tough on the family and stuff. I figured that's
Tough
probably
on the
what it is.
family. And I'm not going to speak for anybody
Hmm.
uh, that does that job. I've never done that job in Boston. I did it in
Yeah,
Providence, and this was years ago. But, like, you got to keep in mind, after so many, those guys, I know a lot of them for a fact took pay cuts. So
for sure.
once upon a time you might have been making 350. Now you're making 200.
Hmm.
And I
Oh
know,
yeah,
like,
it's a big
you're
difference.
sitting there. I don't mean to speak for you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here, a normal person might be like, well, 200,000, that's still a ton of money.
Yeah, it
But yeah,
is. It
you were
is. Yeah.
you were making 375, and now you're making 200. So that's an adjustment. I know it's still like
Wow.
a lot of money, but you never know. Like, maybe your lifestyle, you got used to living that life, and now all of a
Mhm.
sudden you're making 175,000 less. I know they've told me they've taken pay cuts.
Yeah, I
So that's
believe it.
one. Um, and there's also like juice matters. Like how many back in the day, Mike Lynch, these guys, Butch Stearns, when they were on, they
Yeah.
knew people were watching.
Yeah, they do.
That was the
They do.
show. Like there was nowhere else to get sports. Now, how many people are like with respect? How many people are tuning into local news for sports coverage?
Not,
Channel 4,
yeah, not many,
Channel
but
5.
if I had it on my Hulu, I got New York channels. So if I had it on my Hulu, I'd probably be tuning in here and there. But I was more watching it when I was living at home with my parents because they're big into watching the news and stuff.
I'm not saying no one, but like
Yeah,
it just you know at the tip of your finger, like when
Twitter,
somebody
everything.
makes a play or what highlights they like. You don't need, and
Yeah.
especially with that format. If I was news, honestly, and nobody wants to hear this, especially the guys in those cushiony jobs or the girls in those cushiony jobs, I would cover all locals. I wouldn't even cover the pro teams. I would cover high schools and all of the like
They
everything
need
that's
the more
local
exposure.
that
Yeah.
isn't getting covered that nobody
Hmm.
knows about. That's what I wouldn't even bother. There's too much content. There's too many podcasts. You can watch highlights on YouTube. You can watch on Twitter. The second a play happens, I can go fire it up on Twitter. Like you don't
Hmm.
need the local Joe cover like talking about the Bruins firing Jim Montgomery. Who cares?
Hmm.
It doesn't matter. Like nobody's with respect, nobody's probably watching you for that. And then when you feel that, it's probably a little bit demoralizing. You're like, it's 11 o'clock. I might be making decent money. I'm working like in a job. I like covering the sports, talking about, but nobody's really watching.
Hmm.
I'm like making okay money. I'm not rich. I want to just be with my wife. I want to just be at
Yeah.
home. I don't like my life is the balance, the out like it just probably adds up, like it did for me, where it's like this isn't worth it at this point. And as much as you love the business and the game and the creating the stuff, eventually it's like I don't know if I feel like doing this anymore. So I think that might be part of it. They've
Okay.
definitely lost some of the shine that those stations used to have. Um, if you're talking about TV people.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wondered. I'm like, damn, this person's leaving after so many years. This person's going to do something else. I mean, a few years ago, I had the chance to meet. It was probably one of your former colleagues. You probably worked with him at WPRI, Maury Hirsch Gordon. He actually interviewed my dad. I had a conversation with him. I've had him on my podcast, and now he's a sports director at Seven. Like, holy shit! Like, whoa. He went from
Yeah, so
basically.
he's the guy he replaced me in Providence.
Oh, okay. I
So
thought you worked with him. I'm sorry.
no,
Sorry.
he was my
Oh,
replacement,
okay.
and
I
then
thought you worked
his
with him.
his wife it was my intern. So like
Wow.
we caught on to Maury through her. She's
Yeah.
great. They're great. Maury's
Yeah, they're
he's
great.
great at what he does.
Yeah, for sure. He's a nice guy. Super nice guy.
But I'm just like, like I hope he stays there for a long time and he loves it and all of those things. I don't know what his like like maybe that's his end game, being at a
Hmm.
major market news sports
Sports
director.
director, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. But Maury doesn't have kids. Like
I
Maury
think
does, like we'll
they're expecting, I believe I seen
they're
recently.
expecting. So
Yeah. Yeah.
congrats to the Hurst Gordon. But
Yeah,
I don't know. Like
absolutely.
hope, like
Congrats
I
to
said,
them.
I'm not trying to speak on more. I
Yeah.
hope he's in that job for a long time and loves it. But I don't
Hmm.
know what he's gonna feel when he has two kids running around at home and how the business is. Like who knows? So
Yeah.
you could ask him or have him back on and talk to him about stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I just know that I felt like I always remember I used to buzz home after that show. I was on such a high when I started. It was so much adrenaline and like it was late, but you go home and you by the end of it, I remember I'd go home. I'd be driving home. I'd be like falling asleep on 95 because
Ooh,
it was just
yeah,
like there was no more
that's
juice.
tough.
You just
Yeah.
felt like it's just late. You're just tired. And at that station, we didn't have a producer, so I was producing everything, which was not my favorite part of the job. Like I wasn't as good at doing that, so that took a lot out of you. And it was just like,
Hmm.
it was a part of it, and you have to really like, it's got to work out as your life changes and things happen. You've got to still find a good balance there, and it's a challenge.
Yeah, I've even thought like getting into 12, so it's like pretty hard because I've talked to, I think it's Derwin Worwell. I've met him when I covered a high school game last year. He had to move around a little bit. He's new at 12, like within the past year, year and a half. Now Sam's the news direct. The sports director there, Sam Knox. It's like they got a crew,
Mhm.
but JP's been there a while too. I've emailed him. He's gotten back to me, and
Legend.
yeah, I was gonna say
He
nobody
hasn't gotten
really
back to
talks about him.
you. He's
Yeah.
he's a good guy. He's a
Yeah.
unique guy. I would never expect him to email you back.
No, no, he has, and
He has.
nobody really.
Okay.
Yeah, no, no, he has, he has. Good. He seems like a hell of a nice guy, and I'm like,
He's a
man, like,
super guy,
yeah,
unbelievable worker. Um, yeah, he's been there. He's a legend down there. He's been there. He grinds,
hmm
but everyone's situation's different. I don't know that maybe his dream job. He's from the area,
yeah.
but I mean, that's a legend. That's a legend.
I figured, but Mark, I appreciate your time. Any final thoughts or words to the people out there? I mean, I
No,
appreciate you
man.
coming
Good
on.
luck. Anytime.
Thank you.
Let me know whatever you need. But yeah, I appreciate it, and it was a good shot. I had a good time.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.